Joining us now is Matt Walton. Matt was a convention delegate there in Harrisonburg with us from Richmond. Matt also ran for House of Delegates in the special election, I believe, last January. Matt, I might get some of the dates wrong. I cover a lot of this stuff. But Matt was also expected to be a national delegate coming out of Cleveland, the one delegate representing John Kasich, who the Trump campaign was eager to have on because he wanted a unity ticket. Matt got kicked in the teeth at the final minute by Cuccinelli. Matt, thanks for being with us.
Good morning, John. When we talked to this morning, it's not all about me. I just want to put like you said, it's the big power grab that Ken Cuccinelli had, and by extension, the Ted Cruz folks. What I'm actually pretty shocked about is the lack of transparency that Ken Cuccinelli and the Cruz folks used in this process. And to be honest, it's not about me. It's about who they actually left off the slate. I'm more shocked that Ken Cuccinelli decided to actually not put on the slate the chair of the Virginia Victory apparatus and former Governor Gilmore. I'm shocked that the Ken Cuccinelli and the Cruz folks did not include people that were representative of how the actual vote on March 1st carried out and the will of the people. So it's not just about me and trying to be somebody that's complaining or anything like that. It's the lack of transparency. It's how Ken Cuccinelli blew up the convention and the party. And the last time he blew up the party, back in 2013, he lost the governor's race. So we know from history how Ken Cuccinelli and, by extension now, Ted Cruz like to blow up the party and the end result. I'm pretty shocked, but at how this went down and behind closed doors, and the fact that all this was done in manipulation for myself. And I actually feel bad for Corey Stewart, the chair of Trump's campaign here in Virginia, being left off the slate. I think that's a slap in the face to the Trump campaign and to Corey Stewart himself. But I think that Ken Cuccinelli and, by extension, Ted Cruz really wanted to have it all their way and have a big power grab. And it's very sad for the party because we need to be coming together as a party, and things like this make it hard. I know here in the Kasich campaign, we're kind of upset with how things went down. The will of the people was not heard from March 1st, and I think that's doing a disservice to our party, and I think there are going to be ramifications in November, just like they were in 2013 when Ken Cuccinelli blew up the party for his own benefit.
Well, Matt, you're right, and exactly about the fact that there was no transparency in this process. And, we were assured, I know you were working behind the scenes for the Kasich campaign. By the way, I have to say, all of you guys behaved with absolute class. I do have to say that. And I was very proud of my Trump team because I think we behaved in the same way. We expected 4 of the 13, and we expected that Kasich delegates would be there. And when we tried to defeat Cuccinelli's power grab on the floor, which was narrowly passed 51% to 49%, I was charged with immediately making a motion to nominate a unity slate, which involved a majority of Cruz candidates, someone declared, you, and 4 for Trump, including Corey Stewart. Had we defeated that, my motion would have been acknowledged, and I think we would have passed that in a landslide once we got there. So I just found the whole thing to be incredible. And you're right, Matt Walton, the lack of transparency was shocking to me, that nobody knew how this exactly happened, and it was counter to what we were being told. And the fact that Cuccinelli would put all this at stake and make so many people upset in order to execute a personal vendetta by throwing our chairman off, and then expected, this is his lack of understanding of the whole Trump team, okay? And then he expected us to say, no problem. There was no way we were going to do that. We're not going to let you throw our chairman off and embarrass the campaign nationally and toss him to the wolves because of your personal agenda. So this whole thing happened over one delegate, because if Kasich had one delegate and Corey Stewart was there, everybody would have been happy. Look, 1 million Republicans showed up on Super Tuesday. Donald Trump got 35% and won the state. This is 1 million voters who spoke. Ted Cruz came in third with 17%. He comes out of the convention with 10 out of 13 delegates. So he comes out with 70% of the delegates, and he got 17%, totally subverting the will of the voters.
Well, and John, in retrospect, I mean, we could have seen this coming. I mean, Graven Craig, the chair of the nominations committee, works hand in hand with Ken Cuccinelli. I honestly think this lack of transparency in the way that the nominations committee was stacked really reflects, unfortunately, the leadership at RPV with Chairman Whitbeck. And I personally like Chairman Whitbeck. He's a nice guy. He was very helpful to me in my race against Joe Morrissey. But it looks like, to me, the deck was already stacked well in advance with Graven Craig, the chair of the nominations committee out of Louisa, leading this. And then we've got some folks also on the nominations committee that I think that were good-hearted people. I think John Cosgrove and Jim Beamer and were folks that were actually trying to have a fair and honest process, along with Renee Maxey. I think these were all individuals that were trying to make sure that things went fair, and we're trying to be open about things. But unfortunately, Graven Craig, the wall partner of Ken Cuccinelli, he was the nominations chair, and I think the fix was in early on. And unfortunately, I think the power grab is going to backfire. I think we're more divided than ever before, and it's ironic that a lot of the people that were voting in favor of this slate, a lot of the same people were making noises back in 2014 about how they were opposed to slating and all the issues that were going around the Commonwealth of Virginia and the Republican Party at the time, and they actually went back on everything they said. So I just think we're a very fractured party right now, and which is a shame because unfortunately we're going up against Hillary Clinton, and we need to focus on her. And what we need to do is really look at how we address this moving forward. I think it's going to really, what happened here is going to have an adverse effect for millennials. I'm 30 years old, and a lot of my friends are really disheartened about the political process. And what we saw this weekend is a perfect example of what we're doing as a party at shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to do things to grow a party, to bring more people in, and the games that were played by Ken Cuccinelli and by extension Ted Cruz, unfortunately, are harming us and our ultimate goal about being more inclusive and broadening our base. So I think the ramifications are actually bigger than what a lot of people are thinking, because I know a lot of my friends that are dabble in politics will see this and say, oh, there's the inside shady games and the power grab, and will ultimately just not show up in November or for any other future elections and kiss the GOP goodbye.
Well, Matt, you're right. I mean, I drove home after we packed up our radio equipment, my wife Ann and I, the Fräulein. I think we got home at 1:30 a.m., but we lamented the whole way back in the car, and what could have been a unifying convention to uplift people going into November, in the final couple hours turned into a complete catastrophe, and everybody upset, and for absolutely no reason. And I'm convinced, Matt, more than ever, and I know there's a transparency issue that went on, and this thing was stacked, and it was a backroom deal, and it subverted the will of the voters. But there's something fundamentally the matter with your internal soul right now of the Republican Party of Virginia. There's something fundamentally the matter. It's sick. It's nothing that I really want to be associated with. It's very tough to stay in the fold when you experienced what went down there on Saturday and the way Ken Cuccinelli basically came in, stacked the committee, hijacked it on a Saturday, subverted the will of the voters, bullied people on the floor, made a speech and said basically, you know what, screw you all, if you don't take this ticket and you try to defeat it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go 13-0 for Cruz. I'm going to run the table and further humiliate you. Now, here's a guy that is representing a candidate that is mathematically eliminated from the race, has virtually no chance of getting elected president, very little chance of being the nominee, especially if Trump wins Indiana tomorrow. And so they're willing to just blow up the entire Virginia Republican Party and all the unity over one delegate because they want to make a point. How does this make it? Who does this? What individual would actually concoct such a thing?
Well, and that's where the focus shouldn't be on actually, one delegate or anything like that. It's all about the process and looking at the things from a bigger perspective and bigger picture. I ultimately think, and on Saturday I was pretty upset and pretty furious at everything that went on. But yesterday, taking time to reflect and saying, well, what can we do to improve the way things are operated? And that's what we really should be focusing in on now. Unfortunately, in light of this power grab by Ken Cuccinelli and by extension Ted Cruz, we need to really focus on, well, what can we do to bring folks together? I'm a person that says if there's a problem, we got to bring solutions and actually fix these things. And so that's why I think we need to examine how we do things, and I think I would actually call on Chairman Whitbeck to really put together an exploratory committee and look at how we actually...
come on, Matt. You've got to be kidding me. You want John Whitbeck to put together what? His hand was right in the middle of this thing, fighting with me about why the hijack slate was the right thing to do. Now, come on. You can't get him to put anything together. Look, the damage dude is done. All right? There's not going to be no exploratory committee on how to fix this, and then we'll do kumbaya. They made their bed. Everybody is mad. I'm sick of the Republican Party of Virginia. I'm sick to my stomach on what went down on Saturday. It's why we can't win. And instead of, having an exploratory committee, Matt, and we're on the same page on this, we need to expose the nonsense that just went on so it never happens again. I don't want any John Whitbeck exploratory committees. So, you know what? I'm done with these people. I get you want to bring it together, but, what we have to do is we have to stand up to the bullying that went on Saturday with Ken Cuccinelli. Until we do that, we're going nowhere, Matt. I'm out of time. Thanks.
I agree with you, and John, I think what happened was a shame and a travesty, and the transparency was horrendous, and I think we're more divided than united, and we need to come together and expose this dishonest behavior that went on, and